Hi, I want to welcome you today to Point Serve. Point Serve is the very first podcast of Crosspoint Church in Beckley, West Virginia. My name is Vondie. I am the lead pastor here at Crosspoint, and I am so glad that you chose to be a part of this podcast today. I want to share with you just a minute to explain what we are hoping to achieve in our time together. We want to give you some practical steps as a follower of Christ in your leadership area, whether it's in a sacred space or it's in the marketplace. I want you to know that we value you and know that as you are better in your leadership ability, you are able to help more and more people know what it is to excel where they are and what's going on in their lives. Today we're going to talk about some things that I found by Charles Stone. There's 6 brain barriers. I don't know about you, but sometimes the toughest thing for me as I lead is to get past my own thinking and my own processing. And as you and I lead, there are going to be moments when we are very positive. There are going to be moments when things are going well, and there are also going to be moments when things aren't going well at all. And as you and I begin to walk through this, we need to understand that if we are going to be the leaders that God has created all of us to be, there may be some changes in how we think and how our brains process and the way that the barriers that are put in there. And I know we can be slow to accept those things. We can be slow to change through the things because we get so used to doing stuff our way. We get so used to walking through life and realizing that maybe our brain is kind of slowing us down and it's not helping us to be the leader that God called us to be. So let's look at some potential brain barriers, and you can think whether or not this has ever affected you or not. But the first brain barrier is undoing a bad impression is harder than creating a good one. Undoing a bad one. I remember when I was young, getting ready to get a new car, and I walked into a particular dealership here in Beckley. It no longer exists. But I walked into that dealership and not a single salesperson came to talk to me. Not one. They looked at me. They thought I was young. I had on blue jeans and a polo shirt. But no one came to talk to me until I turned to walk away. I was there for 20 minutes and not a single person talked to me. And when I turned to walk away, I was young then, and sometimes I said things I shouldn't have. As I was walking out the door, I said, well, I guess nobody here wants to sell a car today. And it was then when 2 salesmen ran to me. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I wish I could stand here before you and say that I took the high road and I was this guy that said, yes, I will talk to you. I didn't. I said, guys, you had 20 minutes to come and talk to me. And by the way, there wasn't a single other customer in the place at that time. I was the only guy there. And I went and I bought a car, but I bought it somewhere else. But you know, when you're leading and you're touching people, it is so much easier to make a good first impression than to undo a bad impression. I can also tell you that I never went back, even when they were still in business. I never went back to give them another opportunity. All of us need to realize that making a good impression is really important. Now, I know we have bad days. I know you have bad moments. And we've all made bad impressions. But sometimes we have to get past those bad impressions and realize how hard we have to work to change somebody's idea of us. Second brain barrier that we struggle with is that at times people initially assume the worst. This is especially true if you're going through a hard time. You begin to look at everything through that lens of that difficulty, that struggle, that problem. And our brain is wired to pick up the negative more than the positive. Even in the most optimistic people, there are times that our brain will grab that. In fact, 2/3 of the brain cells in the flight or fight part of our brain are wired to pick up what's wrong rather than what's right. 2/3. So that means if I'm going to be the person that does not initially assume the worst, then I have to somehow get that 1/3 of my brain kicked in more than the 2/3. And that's difficult, ladies and gentlemen. It really is. Because it's so easy for us to latch on to the negative potential and miss the positive. You and I need to realize that that barrier to tend to go negative, we've got to fight against that. If we're going to be the leaders that we really desire to be, we've got to have a tendency to put away that 2/3 and hang out more with the 1/3 of our brain that can help us see those positive moments. The third brain barrier is that the brain can only handle so much change at once. The brain can only handle so much change at once. Trying to create too much change too quickly, especially when you're leading an organization, can really come back to bite a person. You've got to understand that change, especially the older an organization is, the slower it is to change. That's why for the business that I'm in, when it is the church life, a younger congregation can change much quicker than an older established congregation. I think that's also true in business. An older business takes more time to transition and change than a new one does. We can see that in Apple. We can see that in IBM. IBM used to be the change agents on the street, and then in the 70s, they kind of slowed down and didn't change quickly. And Apple came along, other Microsoft came along, other guys came into that picture. They changed it very quickly. But you and I need to understand that our brains can only change so much, and then it needs to rest. It's kind of like a good workout. After you have a good workout, there has to be a rest period. There has to be a time of rest for you and your body in order to accentuate that. And so when you are leading change, understand the brain can only handle so much, and know what that looks like. Every organization is different, but know what that looks like where you are. Brain barrier number 4 is people will fill in knowledge gaps about your change with fear. People, if they are not completely up on what's going to happen and what's coming next, fear will fill that spot. Nature abhors a vacuum. Something will always fill that space. And when you and I are in a leadership position and we are sharing a change, recognize that people will allow fear to fill that place, that they don't know the answer to it. Change causes uncertainty about the future, and that always breeds fear. Uncertainty will always be something people are fearful of. And when the brain senses fear, it doesn't like it. When the brain senses fear, it does not like it at all. And it will act on that fear, and it will dampen our ability to think clearly. So if you are operating in a total fearful mode, you will not operate clearly. And in some cases, logically, we have a tendency to go to the emotional end, which anytime we deal with things emotionally, very seldom does that take us where we want to be. But know that about your brain. Know the issue that you have there. Brain barrier number 5 is people underestimate their ability to weather difficult future events. People underestimate what they're able to live up to and what they're able to handle. Time and time again, you've watched family members, you've watched businesses, you've watched leaders who've gone through difficult moments, yet have come out on the other side far better because they went through that difficult moment. I know in my life, I can talk of instances when I had to go through a difficult moment, hurtful times. And in those moments, I've been able to be stronger on the other side than I was at the beginning. Did I want to go through that difficult time? Did my brain want to process everything that it needed to? No, absolutely not. Yet I came out better on the other side. But number 6, brain barrier number 6, is that emotions play a significant role in decision making and influence how well others embrace change with us. I want to say that again because that is a mouthful. Emotions play a significant role in decision making and influence how others will embrace change. You have to engage people in the change. You have to engage people in the process, or else they are going to look at it, see it, and view it in a very negative light. In Appalachia, we call that front porch talk. You've got to involve people in that process, or else it will create a major brain barrier for them. So brain barrier number 6, emotions play a significant role in a decision making and influence how well others will embrace the change. People underestimate, number 5, people underestimate their ability to weather difficult future events. Brain barrier number 4, people will fill in knowledge gaps about your change with fear. Brain barrier number 3, the brain can only handle so much change at one time. Brain barrier number 2, people potentially assume the worst. And brain barrier number 1, undoing a bad first impression is harder than creating a good new one. Thank you for being a part of Point Serve today. This is a ministry of Cross Point Church in Beckley, West Virginia. My name's Vondie, I'm the lead pastor here. I want to thank our producer, Mike Smith, and all of the coordination that he works with here at Cross Point Church to make Point Serve a reality. And we want to help you be a better leader, whether you serve in a sacred place or the marketplace. God's using you. Let's make sure the brain barriers don't slow us down, or the organization that we lead today. Thank you so much.